Pursley. I started at San Francisco State in 1960 and left in 1968 to go on to graduate school and eventually law school. The lesson that I learned in all my years at State and through the strike and afterwards is that if you do not give up on your ideals and your sense of what's right in this world, you will not regret it. You will not regret it. I came to that conclusion after reflecting on my time at State. And I'll just speak briefly about 1967 when I met Persico, who talked me into running for student body president, and we lost. Before that, we had won. When I say we, I'm talking about the progressives on campus and the people who were looking for fundamental institutional change. We won 5 straight student body elections, and with those victories came the ability to fund the kind of programs we were looking for. Black Studies, the first money from Black Studies actually didn't come from the student body treasury, it came from the San Francisco State Foundation. And how did we get that money? Well, one day in 1967, the foundation decided to raise the price of coffee from 10 cents a cup to 15 cents a cup. And immediately there were 2 young men standing out in front of the Commons with signs saying, "Boycott the Commons." Well, they turned out to be SDSers. And they talked to people over a series of days, and pretty soon that boycott hit critical mass. And one of the political geniuses here on campus, Colonel Persico, came up with the idea of having a mock election on the issue of not the price of the coffee, but the control of the foundation. And I don't know how the foundation is controlled today. You might want to take a look at that. But after that boycott, we had that mock election, and the student body overwhelmingly voted for student control. And we went up to the administration with that outcome in our hands and negotiated for a change in the bylaws. They wanted to settle for a student elected majority, but the referendum called for a 2/3 majority. We didn't compromise, they caved, we got control of the foundation, we funded Black Studies, we funded Amari Baraka, the poet, formerly known as Leroy Jones. It wasn't a lot of money that we had control of, but we made good use of what we did have. We also used some of that foundation money for bail money. So resources are critical. And so not giving up on student politics was the right thing to do at that point. Jump to 1980. 1980, I've been gone from San Francisco State for 10 years, still not quite over the brutality of what we went through. I mean, it was vicious, it was brutal. And the administrators who were in charge of this college were some of the most vindictive people on earth. 1980, I'm at home down in the DuBois Triangle on Noe Street. There's a knock at the door. I'll go downstairs, there's 5 young men. This is Dr. Pursley, working the BSU, and we've just been thrown out of federal court for the 2nd time. Can we come and talk to you? I said, sure. I didn't know any of these guys. I'd never seen it before in my life. Charles Jackson, Lonnie Daniels, John Trotter. And I was just stunned because these guys were the BSU leadership. I didn't know any of these people. So the movement continued. And they had, on their own, put together a complaint and found lawyers to go into federal court. Well, what happened in federal court is that the controversy around the strike was so strong, and Hayakawa was such a flashpoint and a political figure that nobody wanted to do anything with the case. So what happened is that they just passed it around from one judge to the next. And this went on for 5 years. In state court, you have to get the case over with in 5 years. There's no limit like that in federal court. So they basically starved us out. The case eventually went to a judge who was very conservative named William Schwartzer. And he threw us out of court again. appeal, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals said, look, we are tired of seeing this case here. This is the third time you've been here. What is going on? And what it was is that we weren't giving up. Okay? The suit had challenged the mass arrest, the discipline and expulsions, the blacklist, which prevented people from being hired simply because they got arrested, not because they got convicted of anything. I was one of those blacklist victims. And just, I'll finish up with a word about the faculty, because I think it does deserve acknowledgement for the courage that the faculty showed in many different respects. I had a department chair in psychology named Steve Roush, and he called me into his office and said, look, I can't give you any money, but I can let you in that classroom. He said, that I have control over. And so I got to teach the class in black psychology. I didn't get paid, but it was a small price to pay. And eventually, what happened is that the state had to cave, and they gave us a minor concession of destroying records that had been accumulated, that Mason Long had gone to court over, and the judge said, get rid of these records. These people haven't been convicted of anything. And the college didn't do that. They kept those records. And the other thing I found out is that they put derogatory comments on the transcripts of people who got arrested. And how many hundreds of people suffered that fate, I don't know. But when Jimmy Garrett said some people's lives came to an end, count those people in.
My understanding is this gentleman here worked 15 years on legal cases too. Is this true that you worked 15 years?
No, I should correct that. I only came in 1980. The suit was filed by students in '72, and the federal court judges just kept sitting on it, and, well, I think I'll transfer it to the next judge. And nothing would happen. So then the new judge would have to get control of the case and get familiar with it. No, it'd take 2 years to do that. And it just went on and on and on until we came across a rock-solid conservative who had no problem. And in fact, he had written a memorandum to the lawyers who appear in this court. Before you appear in this court, you be sure to read Language and Thought in Action by S.I. Hayakawa. I damn near died on the spot.